final.
Cup championship bound, baby! Woo! Big love, baby! Woo! Here, man. It got a little crazy out there, but we made it through.
We're gonna keep stacking the day, so see you in the championship.
Let's go!
June 17th wasn't just a game, it was personal. The Indiana Fever walked into that rematch with receipts. Back on May 30th, JC Sheldon and the Connecticut Sun left Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson battered on the floor, and nothing was called. No flagrant, no consequences, just silence. But trust me, the Fever didn't forget. So when JC Sheldon dared to poke Caitlin Clark straight in the eye during this latest showdown, that was it. The moment everything flipped, Sophie Cunningham didn't hesitate. She unleashed one of the coldest flagrant fouls you'll ever see. Not out of recklessness, but out of loyalty. You mess with Clark and you mess with the whole squad. This wasn't revenge, this was justice. If you ride for the Fever, hit the comments with CC and Spicy Sophie, because this squad doesn't play games. They settle scores.
It was chippy the last time these two teams faced off too. Sophie Cunningham suffered her ankle injury in that game, but in addition to that, she actually had part of her front tooth knocked out. She made contact with JC Sheldon as Caitlin Clark knocks down the triple.
But what people don't talk about enough is how hard you have to work to be able to be that good. All the hours that she's spent perfecting her craft.
Retreating, firing, and hitting.
So she can do that.
On Indiana arguing the call.
I mean, step back, you're late. She almost looks you in the eye.
Imagine this, May 30th, Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. From the outside, it looked like just another regular season clash. But once that ball tipped off, things took a dark turn. Fast. What started as a routine battle for standings quickly spiraled into something far more brutal. The Sun weren't just playing tough, they were crossing the line. Physical play turned reckless, aggression turned dangerous. You could feel it from the very first possession. This wasn't basketball, this was war.
We talk about the physicality for a second. Two players on the Indiana Fever got injured last night by the same player on the Connecticut Sun, and that was JC Sheldon. And I tweeted about it. She was playing so reckless. I'm fine with players playing aggressive, but there is a thin line between playing aggressive and playing reckless. When you dive for a ball, you don't land on somebody's leg. She landed on top of Sydney Colson's leg, and her leg got stuck and literally twisted around. Both injuries, both Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham, were contact injuries.
Sophie Cunningham was the first to hit the floor, and it didn't look accidental. The collision was jarring, far beyond what you'd expect from a standard basketball play. Moments later, Sydney Colson went down too, caught in another shady sequence that had fans and players alike doing double takes. At the center of it all, JC Sheldon, now playing with the kind of reckless edge that doesn't just cross the line, it erases it. The hits didn't feel like part of the game.
On contact. They weren't ACLs, they weren't Achilles, they were contact injuries caused by the same player. And this kind of physicality that the Wnba they brag about. They say it's always been a physical league. That's just the heart of the It's not good basketball. And we've seen so many injuries. Paige Becker's out with a concussion. Rakia Jackson was out with a concussion. All of these injuries are contact plays. We've seen Caitlin Clark last year get chucked to the ground. We saw Angel Reese get clothesline chucked to the ground. The players continue to do it because the refs are allowing them. Why wouldn't you keep doing it if you're a physical player?
They felt personal. This is where their college rivalry adds fuel to the fire. JC Sheldon and Caitlin Clark have a long history that goes back to their Big Ten battles. Ohio State versus Iowa. Every time they shared the court, Sheldon made it her mission to rattle Clark. She'd stick to her like glue, throw shoulders into every screen, and chirp during every dead ball. It stopped being just basketball a long time ago. This was personal, and both of them knew it.
Mortal enemy. Her mortal enemy took out a player. JC Sheldon. Caitlin Clark's mortal enemy. JC.
In that rough night in May, it was like the referees had blindfolds on. They let the chaos unfold without stepping in. Brutal fouls were brushed off, and reckless contact got a free pass. Caitlin Clark stood there helplessly, watching her teammates get taken out, while JC Sheldon skated by without even a warning. The frustration kept piling up with every missed call. Despite the Fever battling to the final buzzer, they came up just short, losing 85-83. But the bigger loss? Two of their key players, Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson, both sidelined with injuries that never should have happened if the refs had done their job, and that pain lingered far beyond the scoreboard.
So this is a reckless play. This is reckless. It's not, it is dangerous. There is no, and this angle makes it look even worse. It is dangerous. Like, Sid Colson is between her and the ball. Sid Colson is in fact between JC Sheldon and the ball, and she dives through her knee. It wasn't even called as a foul. It wasn't even called as a foul.
You could see it all over Caitlin Clark's face after that tough loss. The glare she shot Sheldon during the handshake line, the edge in her voice during the postgame presser. This wasn't over, not even close. The Indiana Fever had this one circled. They remembered who threw the cheap shots, who left Sophie and Sydney hurting on the floor, and they remembered how the refs just stood there and let it happen. Fast forward to June 17th. Clark's back from a quad injury, fresh off a statement win against the undefeated New York Liberty. This was only her second game back after 3 weeks out, and you could tell she'd been counting the days. The moment she stepped onto the court, locked eyes with the Connecticut Sun during warm-ups. It was clear. This wasn't just business, it was personal.
She just texts me. She never texts me during the game.
All right. Here is Clark splashing home a three from way downtown. Kelly escorting her back to the bench.
JC Sheldon is there with her hand in her face.
Right from tip-off, you could feel the tension thick in the air. JC Sheldon was on Caitlin Clark like glue, pressing her full court, getting way too physical, and invading every inch of space she had. She was tailing Clark on every possession, bodying her through screens, and turning the flow of the game into something gritty and borderline reckless. It was the exact kind of over-aggressive defense that sidelined Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson just a few weeks earlier, and the crowd knew it. You could feel it in the building. Something was about to boil over.
And Caitlin Clark are talking to the official. They're both going at it saying, hey, oh, there's a little extra right there. Uh-oh. Then Marina steps in to protect JC.
Then came the third quarter, when the moment that flipped everything. Caitlin Clark was bringing the ball up the floor when JC Sheldon stepped up to pressure her. At first, it looked like a routine swipe at the ball, but instead, Sheldon's finger jammed directly into Clark's eye. The hit was instant and brutal. Clark's head snapped back from the impact, and the crowd knew right away this wasn't just accidental.
Third quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and JC Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down.
Clark is okay.
Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabrey comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both sides.
Clark immediately clutches her face. The pain is obvious, but so is the fury in her eyes. She's blinking through the sting, trying to regain her vision, but it's not just about the eye. It's about what this moment represents. This wasn't just an accident. It was the same player, JC Sheldon, who had already taken out 2 of Clark's teammates in their last meeting. And now she was coming straight for Caitlin using the same reckless, dirty tactics. Clark did what any fiery competitor would do. She shoved Sheldon back in pure instinct. Anyone who just got poked in the eye like that would have done the same. The crowd erupted. Everyone saw it, clear as day. But of course, the refs, they were about to make it even worse.
I mean, is that displacement? I think it is.
Oh, and Marina Mabrey's going to get ejected. If the officials saw that, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected.
Well, they're going to go and look at it. Look at Mabrey. She's got a scar on one side, a scratch on one side of her face, a scratch on the other side. It's not from the game today. I asked her about it. She's always in the mix. There's a lot of contact here. There's a scrape across the face. That's what Clark did.
Clark stood there, covering her eye, but clearly the one who just got hit. The crowd could see it. The replay on the big screen showed it, but somehow the refs didn't. Instead of protecting the player who just took a finger to the eye, the officials blew the whistle and called a technical foul on Caitlin Clark. The arena went silent, then erupted in confusion and outrage. Fans were shouting, pointing at the screen, stunned that the referees completely ignored the eye poke that started it all. Let that sink in. Clark had just dropped 32 points in her first game back from injury. And now she was getting punished for instinctively pushing away the very player who invaded her face. It didn't make sense. Not to the fans, not to the commentators, not to anyone who saw what really happened. Worse, it sent a dangerous message to every player watching. Go ahead and target Clark. If she reacts, she's the one who will get hit with a tech. And just when you thought things couldn't get more heated, Wnba Mabrey entered the chat, and what she did next, it took the drama to an entirely new level.
Take another look as we try to figure out what exactly went down. So you see her get hit in the face. JC Sheldon doesn't like that, and everybody on the team doesn't like it. Marina, trying to have her teammates back, pushes her down. You see a little bit of drama all the way around. Tina, Charles, Clark, and Mabrey, they received technical fouls. Sheldon received a flagrant 1 foul.
Right after the ref slapped Clark with that ridiculous technical foul, Wnba Mabrey took things from bad to worse. Caitlyn was still recovering, blinking through the pain from the eye poke, when suddenly Mabrey made her move. What she did next left the entire arena stunned. It wasn't just unnecessary, it was personal, and it proved that this game had officially gone off the rails.
That's what Clark didn't like. And then Mabrey came in with a bump.
And Mabrey's day is almost assuredly going to be done. But both teams.
This wasn't a basketball move, it was straight up assault. Mabrey came flying into Clark like she was checking her into the glass in a hockey game, not contesting a play in the WNBA. Caitlyn was sent crashing to the floor, the impact echoing across the court. Even the most casual fans could see it. This wasn't defense, it was a cheap shot. As Clark hit the hardwood, the stunned look on her face said it all. Another Sun player had just crossed the line, again.
And then Wnba Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlyn, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlyn's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlyn pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Wnba Mabrey, bad out of hell, chucks Caitlyn Clark to the ground.
The entire Indiana Fever bench shot to their feet. They had just watched their franchise player get blindsided right in front of the officials. Players were pointing directly at Wnba Mabrey, yelling at the referees, pleading for someone to finally take control. The arena erupted, fans in total disbelief at what they were witnessing on their home court. Coach Stephanie White was absolutely livid. She stormed the sideline, yelling at the refs, throwing her arms in every direction, trying to make them see what was blatantly obvious. She wasn't just protesting, she was trying to protect her player. White could see exactly what was going on. Caitlyn Clark had been targeted again, and the officials were about to blow it again.
Now after this, you guys, of course, the referees are going to review the play because that's a lot of contact going on right there. That's a lot of unnecessary contact. That's a lot of non-basketball contact happening during this play, right? So the 3 referees that I like to say, they got them straight out of Sephora because I don't think these referees have ever refereed a professional basketball game in their life. They took these referees, they were at the monitor, they looked at it for, I'm not even exaggerating, you guys, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes they are watching this play over and over.
The refs hand Wnba Mabrey nothing more than a routine technical foul. The exact same punishment Caitlyn Clark got for simply defending herself after being poked in the eye. Let that sink in. Clark gets jabbed in the eye and instinctively pushes the player away. Technical foul. Mabrey comes in like it's a hockey game and body checks Clark to the floor. Also a technical foul. How does that make sense? It doesn't, and everyone in the arena knew it. The inconsistency was glaring, and it sent a message no one could ignore.
The announcers here are saying, of course, Wnba Mabrey is going to get ejected because that was unwarranted. She literally came out of nowhere and chucked Caitlyn Clark. There should be a flagrant 1, of course, on JC Sheldon because she swiped her and hit her in the eyeball. Whether it is intentional or not, you can still have a flagrant a flagrant foul called on you, whether you are trying to intentionally hurt somebody or not. But this is what they called, you guys. This is what they called. Caitlyn Clark, Wnba Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlyn, Marina, and Tina Charles. Technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. And JC Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were ejected.
Coach Stephanie White didn't hold back in the post-game press conference. She called it exactly what it was, a failure by the officials to control the game. When refs let this stuff go unchecked, this is the result, she said, clearly fed up. And who could blame her? She's watched her players get targeted game after game, while the officials just stand there, swallowing their whistles. She's had enough.
When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of fierce competition. So I started talking to the officials in the first quarter, and we knew this was going to happen. You could tell it was going to happen. So they got to get control of it. They got to be better.
By now, the message couldn't be any louder. The refs weren't going to protect Caitlin Clark, so it was up to her teammates to step in. And Sophie Cunningham, she'd seen enough. Sitting on the bench, watching all the chaos unfold, Sophie was locked in. She wasn't just watching a game. She was remembering everything. That brutal hit on May 30th that sidelined her, the blatant eye poke to Clark that got swept under the rug, Wnba Mabrey decking Caitlin with 0 real consequences. So when the clock ticked into the final minute with the Fever comfortably ahead, 87-70, and JC Sheldon got the ball one last time, Sophie wasn't thinking about the scoreboard. She was thinking about payback.
Let's talk about Sophie Cunningham. At the end of the game, JC Sheldon is going for a fast break layup and Sophie Cunningham is running with her. And I remember in my head, like, it happened in a split second and I said, oh, let's see. Let's see what happens here.
Cunningham hasn't forgotten. Not the injury she took back in that rough May matchup. Not sitting on the bench, sidelined, while JC Sheldon played like she hadn't done a thing. Not the way the refs turned a blind eye as her teammates got taken out one by one. And now with Sheldon driving toward the hoop, Sophie spots her moment.
Sophie commits a hard foul on JC Sheldon. Again, as JC Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely intentional.
Cunningham squares up Sheldon and delivers the kind of retaliation fans had been waiting for. She grabs her hard, pulling her straight to the floor. Not a defensive play, not a hustle foul. This was pure payback. This was Sophie Cunningham drawing the line in bold, unmistakable ink. You don't come after her squad and walk away clean. The refs waste no time handing Sophie a flagrant 2 and tossing her from the game. Sheldon and Lindsay Allen are also ejected after the scuffle escalates. 3 players gone. But the message, delivered loud and clear. That night, justice wasn't just served. It hit the hardwood with force.
It was, to me, payback for what was happening the entire game. But she did it in a way that she wasn't gonna injure JC. She was just making it known, like, if the refs aren't gonna handle it, I will handle it. We'll take care of it, but this is not what you're going to do when you come into our house. It was an intentional foul. It was a hard foul. She brought her down. But with that, you guys, JC Sheldon got up and she was ready to go. So as you guys can see in this video, a whole scuffle breaks out. Sophie and JC are going after it. Both teams are running over, trying to break it up. It kind of goes into the fan section a little bit.
Clark wrapped up the night with 20 points and 6 assists, powering the Fever to a commanding 88-71 win. Now, but this one felt way bigger than the scoreboard. Natasha Howard notched her 50th career double-double, dropping 16 points and snagging 12 boards. Kelsey Mitchell chipped in with 17 of her own. It was a full squad performance from start to finish. But let's be real, not everyone watching knew exactly what this game was really about.
A rare miss at the rim for Aaliyah Boston, the league's top field goal percentage shooter in the WNBA, but it's Boston who comes up with the steal and the find to Howard. Clark working on the rookie. Clark on the drive. Hang, shot too strong. There's Howard to clean up.
And Clark working off the ball, comes off the stagger.
Third year in her WNBA in terms of setting up her teammates. Clark behind the back, feed inside. 2 more for Howell.
This wasn't just a win over the Sun. This was the Fever making a statement. They're not here to be pushed around. They're not backing down. And when you come for one of theirs, you're coming for all of them. The victory doesn't just punch their ticket to the franchise's first ever Commissioner's Cup final. It sends a loud, unmistakable warning to the rest of the league. Mess with Indiana, and you'll pay for it.
Indiana Fever fans were chanting, Sophie, Sophie. Sophie's jersey is gonna sell out tonight. She's gonna be in the All-Star game tonight just from this one play because she was standing on business. It wasn't a dirty play. It was an intentional foul and it was meant to send a message. It turned into a scuffle and I don't think anybody wanted that.
The Fever got their payback after that rough May 30th showdown. Caitlin Clark finally got the justice she was owed after an eye poke and a cheap body check. And Sophie Cunningham, she stepped up as the enforcer, proving she's not letting anyone take shots at her squad without consequences. Sometimes the refs won't step in, but your teammates will. And that's exactly what happened on June 17th, when the Indiana Fever made one thing clear to the entire league. They're not afraid of anyone, and they're done being pushed around.
Oh, and Clark just took it away. It's a 2-on-1. Clark, bounce pass, pretty find, and Mitchell won't miss from there.
This game didn't just show the Indiana Fever have talent. It showed they're a true family. When things get rough and the refs turn a blind eye, players like Sophie Cunningham step in and do what needs to be done. That's what real loyalty looks like in pro sports. Now, they're heading to the Commissioner's Cup final on July 1st to face the Minnesota Lynx. And after seeing how this squad rallies around each other through adversity, the future of Fever basketball in 2025 is looking brighter than ever. So next time someone tells you loyalty doesn't exist in the league, just point to this moment. Sophie Cunningham proved it's alive and well. If you're riding with the Fever, drop a CC and Spicy Sophie in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a moment. Click the video on your screen now, and we'll catch you in the next one.